over here. Record this computer. All right, there, finally. All right, well, I'm Roger Rayle. I'm chair of CARD and chair of Residents for Safe Water. And welcome to the May regular monthly meeting. The echo's back.
Go.
Just keep going.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Thanks, Roger, for getting all this together
Well,
as best you could.
I think,
Appreciate it.
Anyway, let me share my screen here. We got to first, before I do that, I'm going to take a nice screen capture. By the way, for the new people that on Zoom, if you're not familiar with it, you got three dots in the upper right that you can click on, and you can go to gallery mode and see all of the people who have fit on the screen. And if there's more than that, you can scroll to new screens. And then when we share the screen, then you have a opportunity to make the presentation bigger or the people bigger, with the sliding bar. So let me go to the share here. Share screen. I'm going to do the agenda. Screen 2. Share. I think that's it. It should be the agenda coming up. Yep. Yeah, let me make that a little bigger. There. Okay, so we record these meetings and then we post them to YouTube later. So when we're ready, agenda. It's probably my other copies. Got the agenda highlighted here, so it looks funny. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Jack, our executive director, to handle the rest of the meeting, keep it organized, and then I'll be at the end. And one of the other people you saw on the screen there was our new student who's just completed a project. He's going to present right after I do my chair update at the end. So the first thing Jack will take care of is approving the prior month's minutes.
Thank you, Roger. I'm Jack Eaton. I'm Executive Director. I'm going to lead us through the agenda as well as I can. First thing we have to do is approve the January minutes. Roger circulated a proposed copy of the minutes. Does anyone have any corrections? Go ahead, James.
Yeah, minutes look pretty good to me. However, I do notice that at the end, I see that since she can't speak for herself, Scioto Township trustee is called Kathy Null. It should read as Kathy Knoll.
Yeah, that is a hallucination by the AI.
So with that,
good catch.
With that, otherwise, I have no objections, and I'm going to make a motion to support.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Any further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The minutes are adopted. Thank you, Roger, for producing those. I think Kathy Knoll is a really nice nickname for our friend from the West.
But, that's her new nickname.
But I can
forever.
So moving on, The next item on the agenda is the EPA, and is there anyone from the
Yeah, let me move back to the agenda.
anyone from the EPA here who would like to speak to us and bring
I
us
know.
Several. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. Diane Russell with the EPA. I have a couple of folks here from our Superfund division that I could have introduce themselves and kind of give just a hello and just, let you know kind of where everything stands that currently. And then we'll get into a little bit about a little bit more community engagement. So I'm going to toss it over to Colleen.
Hi, my name is Colleen Moynihan. I am a remedial project manager in the Superfund program. I'm outstationed in Ohio, so I live in Cleveland and I work out of the Westlake office. I've been in RPM for about 18 years with the Superfund program, and I've managed different sites from the beginning of investigation to working through cleanup. I have 2 sites in Michigan right now, one in the Midland area where the company is doing work and EPA and the state are doing oversight of that work. I also manage another Superfund site that is near St. Clair Shores where there is no responsible party, no company through investigation, historic release. We're unable to find a company. So EPA does the work and coordinates with the state and local officials to move that project along. That's my quick intro. I think we also have Melissa on the call. Do you want to do a little intro, Melissa?
Yeah, turn your.
Yeah, sorry, I was having technical difficulties. Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Powers Taylor. I'm a on-scene coordinator based out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. So my role in the project, I'm assisting Colleen and Diane as I'm based out of Ann Arbor, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you on this. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank all of you. So then, Diane, do you know whether Gelman has challenged the listing of this site in court?
Well, I can speak to a brief update that we can provide today if you want me to kind of set the tone. So what we can say is that EPA will meet with Gelman to discuss additional work and the performance of remedial investigation, a feasibility study under an enforcement agreement with EPA oversight. That enforcement agreement is referred to as an administrative settlement agreement and order of consent, where the company does the work and EPA does oversight. Because EPA right now, we're in negotiations and discussions, we can't provide a lot of information because that's considered enforcement confidential at this time.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. But to your knowledge, there's no court filing challenging the listing.
I mean, I can say right now, I know that EPA will meet with Gelman pretty soon, and there will be discussions. I guess that's kind of the status of what I can provide.
All right. Thank you so much. So any questions or comments from anyone else regarding the EPA update?
So I did want to get a little bit into something, but if someone else has a question related to what Colleen was talking about.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I think I've talked to several of you, not from the roundtable meeting and then, the weeks subsequent days and weeks after that. And kind of talked a bit about my role in all of this and really just kickstarting community involvement, community engagement as it relates to the work that EPA does. Now, a precursor to all that is we have to start to know the community that we're working in and figure out a plan that makes sense here. So one of the first things that EPA does typically when a site gets listed is do what we call community interviews, where we're coming into community, having maybe one-on-one conversations to learn what kind of like site history. A lot of times what that'll look like is, maybe we'll sit at a library at a predetermined time where we'll sit down with folks, maybe half an hour to an hour, and learn what they know about the site. A lot of times that's a narrative history. Let's say, for example, if somebody used to work at a facility and they back in the day they were part of where they would bury the drums. That's just an example, right? So learning the site history from people's experiences and perspective. It's really valuable to learn that. And it's also valuable when we have people together with us to learn how do they expect EPA to communicate going forward? What are their expectations? What do they want to know as we go through this process? And really recording that so that we can capture it in what we call a community involvement plan. And that will be our document going forward to say, this is what we heard from community, here's their concerns, this is what they know, and then lay out kind of what our plan would be for engagement going forward. And those things get renewed as well, so those documents will be revisited after a period of time if necessary. So one of the things I like to do before I do those formal interviews and we sit down is just get a feel for, I want to make a plan on figuring out how to do those interviews in a way that makes sense. Sometimes in communities we schedule a week and we put a call out if you're interested to sit down with the EPA, make an appointment. And so sometimes that'll take place over, let's say, the course of a week. I think given some of the initial, discussions that I've had with some of you, it's like this community is going to be very interested. And so it might make sense to do something a little bit more creative. Now, as I start to get creative, I do not like to do that in a vacuum because left to my own devices, who knows what I'll come up with, right? So it's better if I have your all's help with that. So I guess tonight what I'm asking for is, because I see that our next meeting or the next gathering of all of us seems to be in July for the quarterly meeting, and then not again until August for the general meeting. And I'd like to see if I could put my email in the chat of this meeting for those of you who might be interested in, as I piece this together and put together a draft of what my engagement plan around interviews and gathering that community-based information might be, if I could get it like a little group together that's interested in being a sounding board, a group of folks that I could provide a draft outline or framework and ask, hey, is this sound good to you? Does this seem within reason? Is there any red flags you're seeing before I go move forward and execute what I've laid out? So anyone who's interested to, I'll send me an email letting me know that you'd be interested in kind of being like the sounding board. What I would probably do is just maybe set up a meeting between now and before the next card meeting to work with this subgroup to just have some dialogue, share some things that I'm outlining and developing, maybe 1 or 2 meetings to discuss. Could probably be online Teams or something of that nature. So just putting that call out there and that interest if you wanted to participate and be a sounding board as I develop these things so we can build a robust engagement strategy when it comes to this short-term effort, which is these community interviews and what that might look like.
Quick question. Are you planning on having face-to-face, or would be Zoom, or how are you going to plan on doing it?
So for this sounding board kind of exercise, it really could just be something that's online. I could get a group of you together or others that you might think would be interested in this, right? So if maybe there's somebody not represented in this space tonight that might be interested in this kind of thing. Certainly, send them my email address. And I'll probably set up something in the next because I want to build something that you can react to. So that probably won't be until somewhere towards the end of the month, or maybe the beginning of June. So I could see it. I want to get something that's a draft, let y'all look at it, ground truth it a little bit. and then maybe 1 or 2 meetings, then we can maybe go live with that plan. And again, this is to just the short term. How would we go about doing these community interviews? How could we reach people who maybe, aren't part of, maybe potentially wants to be part of this process, but maybe a one-on-one interview isn't, their cup of tea. So that kind of, does that answer your question about timing? Sorry, my dog likes to do things at the worst times.
So are you gonna do the Zoom?
So I don't have access to Zoom. I would do a Teams meeting potentially. I could have a in person, but I just don't know yet. So it could go either way. Also,
Well,
what I'll do is whoever's interested, I'll get the group together. I'll send an email, see what y'all would like, what you prefer, and I can do that in person, online.
We have 20 years of card. This is the people you will be talking to who are most involved. If anybody is interested in getting involved, they can always incorporate into card. What we wanted to avoid was having separate entities that could be divided and conquered when the company was always working with
Sure.
governments against courts. So I would recommend that we use the card organization, since we have this history and we have the list of people. There's 200 some people on our list, so you will reach a lot more people through card, and we're the official group that's sanctioned by all the local governments and the citizen groups. So
Sure. I just want to, again, that sounding board concept, don't, if,
it's more wide open. I understand what you're saying, but we could
yeah.
have some of those.
So if you wanted I think of these things like as a subcommittee, for example. So if CARD wanted to help organize a subcommittee on this engagement, like sounding board type thing, that sounds great. And then, as long as it happens before the next meeting, because I don't want to wait till July. So,
Right.
and I know you all are busy, and I
Well,
don't
I'm
want to, I
busy.
don't want to ask you to do that, organize for me. I can organize, capture those who are interested and do that, but
Right.
being respectful of your time and such. But
Yeah, and you can send out to the card core group, and we can approve that any messages that you want going out, so we know at least our card core group is getting those. And you might have other names that you've encountered through interviews and things that you can add to your list.
I don't, my impression, Diane, correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression is you don't want hundreds of people necessarily. You want a core group who's going to be like a focal group, a focus group to just sort of give you feedback. And it can't, Diane, she don't want hundreds of people.
No, but she wants to know who of the larger group wants to be in that core group.
I guess I'm going to jump in and say there's that. First off, Diane, Colleen, and Melissa, we're so glad you're here. And like I said, I feel like we want to hold a ticker tape parade for you. I think at some point, we're just so happy to have you. One of the things I really dig and what you're talking about here, Diane, is the fact that making the gesture of meeting us where we are.
Yep.
And in terms of planning ahead, and that is so critically important. I think if I define really the past 40 years in terms of the Gelman issue, it's been citizens not being listened to, and we're always fighting to be, knocking on the door, pounding on someone's window. So this is a very good first step. I agree with what Rita said. I don't think Roger, I don't think we're talking about alternative group or anything. I think it's just critically just just simply a subcommittee, a strategy of playing the next thing. It's kind of like playing the shape of the table. Am I characterizing that right, Diane?
yeah. And then, because not everyone wants to be part of the sausage making,
Right.
But those of you who are really super interested and want and have that perspective, that would really help drive this to be something that when I do, I start advertising for community interviews and I start saying where we're going to be holding them or how we're going to be holding them, the community at large will say, this makes sense here. EPA's done their homework. So
Right. Right.
what
And
does success look like in this kind of effort as I've described it?
mhm.
Or what do you still need to know from me before being able to like understand what I'm asking? Maybe I'm not, like maybe there's some things that need to be cleared up about
Well,
what exactly
I
this.
just think though I think of charrettes. I think my time being on the Plan Commission with the City of Ann Arbor, I think of what happens in terms of community engagement. How many parlor games that many of us have played. I think it's so refreshing that you're willing to try different strategies, and I appreciate that. And I would look forward to working with you on some of these. I may not be environmental engineer or a scientist. One thing I do understand is how to work with organizations. I'd be happy to work with you in that effort.
Absolutely. And if you won't mind, I could share a little story of some of my past experience with this. The East Palestine train derailment in Ohio that happened a couple years ago. One of the first things I did on the ground was there was already a group of citizens, people who are from nonprofits, churches, and other entities that were interacting with FEMA because FEMA was doing some work on the ground. And they convened a circle of folks to kind of give them updates as to maybe what their on the ground efforts were. When I started going to those meetings, I basically started to ask community members, okay, how can we help with as we traverse this issue and this cleanup? What do you need from us? Here's some things I've done in the past. Does this make sense here? And what it evolved to in that case was the community, the sounding board in that room really helped give us a lot of feedback and to stand up a community-based newsletter at a frequency that made sense to them. So that was kind of just an example of a small like community engagement activity that launched from kind of this more concentrated, really engaged group that knew their community way better than I did and could give me really good feedback as to what we should do on the communication front that would meet the needs of the community for that issue. So that's kind of similar to what I'm interested in doing in this. It's a much bigger town, much more involved players that have been here long term, quite a history. So some differences there, but nonetheless worth tapping into.
So help us help you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that we start with a small group like the CARD Executive Board, Kathy Knoll and Kathy Griswold. And from there, that represents the area fairly well. And those people have enough of a feel for the community that they can make recommendations as to who else you might interview or even invite into the core group.
Mhm.
Just as a thought, just as an initial move so that it doesn't start too big because
Yeah.
I think that would just be full of distraction for you.
Yeah. And then, whoever as this process gets along, whoever wants to, maybe they don't want to be part of the first part. Maybe they just want to see a final draft and be, check it or pass or fail kind of thing. That's fine too. But like I said, I would like to get this going fairly quickly, but I need to get a framework together first so that so whoever meets with me, they have something to react to instead of us trying to build the plane while we fly it. And they like to say that in my office, but I don't like it. I don't like doing that, but
So Roger, when do you leave town? Is Roger here?
I'm trying to unmute. There goes.
Oh,
I leave the 19th and come back June 3rd.
okay. So maybe we could have a small Teams meeting before the 19th
Mhm.
with a core group and then work from there. Go ahead, Rita.
Yeah, I would just also like to point out, I agree, I concur with what you said, Jack. I think that's really, Diane, that would be the fastest way to get this thing moving. And one thing you might not be aware of is that the executive committee actually has a very good diversity of geographically, which will be helpful. So, for example, Mike Moran is the Ann Arbor Township, and Vince and I are in the city, and Roger and Kathy are out in Scioto Township. And I think that kind of, and know a lot about well water, for residentials. So I think that and Jack is in the city. So, that kind of diversity, I think, will be it's already built into the executive committee. So I think it's a good plan.
So Diane, if you want to suggest a couple of dates at your leisure, not this evening, but for a Teams meeting, we'll see who we can assemble on short notice and get this rolling for you.
So tentatively, I'm going to look at next week, but probably towards the back half. And then beyond more detail from there, I'll get back with you because I got to look at the schedule. So.
Yep, that sounds very good. I'm excited that you're in a hurry.
Yeah. And I won't be able to meet until Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, I'm busy. So, and Vince is too.
Well, like I said, I'd like to have some time to build out something for you to react to. So back half of the week is probably better for me too. So
good. All right.
Yep.
And how long would you want to talk?
Until she's done.
Is
whatever you think is
Yeah, let's get back to that because I might have something that might be pretty efficient for you all if it's an outline, right? And maybe that's not going to take much time, but if it's over an hour, maybe and we let's just put another one on here. So that's just I'm going to say an hour right now because I think if we need more time, we'll just figure that out before maybe Roger leaves.
We're in the habit of keeping people for 2 hours for this meeting. And so if you need 2 hours, we'll give it to you. And if somebody needs to leave, we'll let them leave,
Okay.
And this would be a Zoom discussion.
Well, I can host the Zoom because everybody's familiar with it. When we start getting into another
Is that amenable? I think that's a good idea if people go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You got to remember though that the EPA may have other restrictions, like Dan said. Not everybody uses Zoom.
Well,
whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I'm asking, whatever works for you all, because I'm asking you for the favor, right? So I will meet you wherever, however, makes sense for you all. Most convenient.
Okay. Kathy's got her hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So Thursday's a bad day for me of next week. I'm going to a day-long data center seminar at the University of Michigan. So I can't on Thursday.
Okay.
Well, I could, we could send out a doodle or whatever it is, to say, here's the times that are available and find a time that's most convenient for everybody.
Well, she said she wanted it at the latter part of next week. That's why I thought I should say something.
But Rita, you said that the Monday, Tuesday didn't work, so maybe we're narrowing it down to Wednesday.
Friday's
better.
Yeah, actually, I looked at my calendar and we have an out-of-town guest who's not leaving till Wednesday. I just saw. So anyway, and we're busy. We're helping her do something. So Thursday or Friday, but Friday would be the better day for me too.
No, that's
all day
for
Friday.
me as well.
The 15th.
Yeah.
It works for me, I think.
That works for me too.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the 7th and 8th.
Oh.
Okay, fine. The 15th can work. Except I've got something from 12 to 2.
Wait a minute, in May, I don't think that work for me though.
Kathy, did you
Oh,
have the
15th.
data center
Okay.
thing on the
15th,
7th or
right.
the 14th?
It's on the 7th.
Okay, so is Thursday possible?
You mean next Thursday, the 14th?
Yeah.
No, I've got the dates correct. I have something from 2 to 3. That's all. I could morning is a possibility or 3:30 or later.
And Rita, that's doable?
Her schedule suits my schedule.
Okay.
So that would be good.
Leaning towards Thursday just because I have
Okay.
Yeah, 3:30 is
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
my Fridays have been, I don't know, it's May and I have a garden I'm trying to get in and it's not working. I call the iron's hot. Okay, let me just pencil this in. Let's
I'm
also
gonna pencil it in too.
We'll coordinate offline here on the particulars, but
Okay.
was Roger still going to send out a poll or for others who are interested so we narrow down a time?
I think
Well, I
we're all
will.
here.
We're talking about the 14th. It sounds like after 2 o'clock, so maybe.
No, after 3.
After
3:30.
3.
Yeah, 3 to something, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If we say 3:30, it's better for me. I may not make 3 o'clock, but
Okay, 3:30 is good.
Okay,
Okay.
3:30.
so not in the morning.
Great.
That's best for me too.
Okay.
Okay. Look at that.
Whew.
That worked pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Done.
So
Right.
3:30 on the 14th, Thursday.
Kathy, go ahead and put your hand down there.
I know, I'm trying.
Just trying to drive the meeting.
Okay.
So we got that set up. Anything else from the EPA?
That's all I had.
Okay,
I guess I should mention, because not everybody knows, that I've met with the 3 women EPA staff on the screen. And I also talked for an hour with Jim at EPA Region 5 in Chicago for an hour on the phone. And got pretty much what Diane was talking about in terms of, how this is going to work, what Colleen had mentioned. So the orientation has already begun, and all those meetings are good. And it's good to see everything moving forward at a crisp pace. And that's what we're here for at CARD, is to keep everything moving along and help you out as much as we can.
I got one basic question I'd like to hear about. How long is this all going to take, do we think? If anybody has an idea.
What, the meeting on the 14th?
Oh, to clean up of the site.
Well, I think we're at the place where we've all wanted to be, right? Where EPA is starting discussions with Gelman. And I think that's kind of where we want to just pause. And it could take a couple of months. And then we can come back and, when we're in a place, we can provide an update. And the timing of what's going to happen and how it's going to happen, it will be something that we'll have to, first get the first step done. We'll have to get the first step done before we can get a little bit of the timing.
Could be a lot of years coming ahead.
Potentially.
The dioxin will probably outlast all of us. It's just how we control it while it's being resolved.
Just so everybody realizes it's going to take a while, and we're going
Urgency
to
was
do our
in-
best.
The urgency was in starting this process. Some of us won't be here to see it end. But
Well,
as Colleen was saying, they really can't give you a good timeline until they know what they intend to pursue. And so I think we have to take this one step at a time. Go ahead, James.
I think the big news we can take from this is that at last, finally, after 40 years, we have forward progress. And that's the chief thing to consider. The current situation is not tenable, but we can at least get the process started. I also think once we get the process started, I think we may be pleasantly surprised. I don't want to sound too Pollyannish, but the fact that we are moving in forward direction is better than just simply managing a bad situation. So thank you again, and I'm grateful to the EPA for being involved.
Absolutely. So seeing no further hands, I don't see Georgia here or anybody from Debbie Dingell's office. So I'm going to just pass along. There's no one here from the EPA, I mean from Eagle today either, is there? Seeing no one, we'll move to our localities. Let's see, I don't see anybody here from the county. Boy, attendance is really down. In Arbor Township, is there anything?
Jack, this is Kristen. I'm here from the county, but I don't have any
Sorry,
update.
Kristen. Oh, okay. Well, that's an update.
Yeah.
All right. Roger, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to point out Kristen's here.
Oh, thanks for the help. So
I had a question, Jack. I'm
Sure.
sorry. Is Eagle going to be involved in this effort moving forward on the EPA, cleanup process?
In the meeting that Debbie Dingell convened out at the college, that was what was described to us, is that there's a high degree of cooperation between the state and the federal government.
Yeah, I would just like to add, traditionally with any of the Superfund sites, right, the EPA often and frequently coordinates with the state, right? Whether it's Michigan, Indiana, we work with local health departments, the state health department. So yeah, I mean, however it plays out, there'll be a frequent communication with Eagle for sure.
Is anyone here from Ann Arbor Township that wants to
Yeah,
update?
I'm here, but without an update.
Okay. And Kathy, did you have an update?
I really don't. There's no news pertaining to this. We have a lot of other news, but nothing pertaining to this that I have.
All righty. And I didn't notice. Is anyone here from the city?
Yep, Patty and I are here from City of Ann Arbor, also with no major updates.
All righty. Go ahead, James.
This is a question for Kathy regarding Parkland Plaza. So that development proposal has not moved forward, or have been no developments on that?
I have to think. I don't believe so. We had a development review team meeting this morning, and I don't think there was anything new. We are still waiting for the developer to give us more information on some trees, hundreds of trees that were cut down unbeknownst to the township. And so there's an inconsistency with what's in the plan and what's the state of the terrain. We have a tree ordinance also, so township was to have been notified and compensated. They owed us money for the trees. So that's a new wrinkle in all of this, and I don't know where this is going.
I'm very sorry to hear that, and that's unfortunate, particularly that you did have a tree ordinance. And
Yep,
hope.
we did. We do. It was active at the time.
So who's the developer, just for their curiosity's sake?
I can't remember who it is right now offhand.
Toll Brothers?
Okay, I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope that the township will take a firm review and action on that, since I'm very sympathetic to that issue.
That's the plan.
Yep. All righty, thanks.
All righty, thank you. Rita, have we heard anything from Yale lately?
I haven't, not since the last report.
Okay.
Although since we have some people from the EPA on the call, maybe it would be worth me just pointing out that Yale University has a Superfund Research Center with 1,4-dioxane as its current focus. They're putting in, or they may have already put in, their competing renewal application. I think, I'm not sure how much 1,4-dioxane is still in the center of the focus because we didn't have an external advisory board meeting. I'm on their external advisory board. We didn't have an external advisory board meeting because of the funds, the funding cuts and everything. And so I guess I don't know if you knew that there was a Superfund Research Center with a focal interest in 1,4-dioxane. And I think I mentioned to Diane that, I've been a researcher when I was a working faculty member. I ran projects in 2 different Superfund centers. One from MSU that's still going at MSU, and then I switched to the one that's down in Puerto Rico. And I guess I'm just trying to say that maybe if there's any way you can think of that I can help with those connections, please let me know. And if there's anything you could do, that would be great too.
It's still ongoing?
Which, I'm sorry.
That was my wife asking me a question.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, tell her hello from us.
Right back at you. All righty. Then moving on.
Let me just make a comment that the Yale people are very knowledgeable about 1,4-dioxane. They've concentrated on that quite a bit over the last, I don't know how many years. Rita probably knows the number of years, but they're very experienced in 1,4-dioxane contamination and remediation and all that stuff. So I don't know if Rita knows how many years they've been at it.
I think it was they with the funding, I think they were only funded for maybe 3 or 4 years. They didn't get the full 5-year funding cycle. But Vasilis Vasiliou's group has really done a lot to advance our understanding of the toxicology of 1,4-dioxane. There really just hasn't been much toxicology research done on it. Trying to understand its mechanisms and everything, and what's it doing in the body. So one of their problems was that they were working with the Long Island communities, but very shortly after they started working with the Long Island communities, New York State really tightened their 1,4-dioxane drinking water. I don't know if they call it a limit or criterion or standard, but basically limiting the amount of 1,4-dioxane that could be in the drinking water. And so their exposure group kind of disappeared on them. I couldn't convince them to come to Ann Arbor. I've been trying. That's been my heart's desire since I learned about this group. But anyway, if there's any, I don't know if EPA has any push to drop a bug in their ear, but I did tell them we were listed now as a Superfund site.
And Rita, didn't they were helping researchers try to find a home system?
Oh, they're
for treating dioxin.
Yeah, the Superfund research program centers have to have it has to bring together projects. One of the main philosophies underlying that research center program is to have to foster interdisciplinary research. So there has to be engineering projects. There has to be biological mechanisms, toxicology projects, human subjects projects, even ecology projects. And you have to show an integration of it. So, but yeah, I thought that one of the engineering projects in particular, but both their 2 engineering projects were very, very strong. Yeah, really, really interesting work going on that had made advances far beyond the state of the science until they had, with their advances, that they had just advanced the boundary of what was possible. Did that make sense? I'm
Yes.
really sleepy tonight. I'm sorry.
You're excused.
Thank you.
So the subcommittee on the Allen Creek MS4 has not met, so we're going to move on. I imagine James doesn't have anything new to say about the Michigan legislature.
No, I don't actually, but getting back to the subcommittee, gentlemen, do we still want to meet given the circumstances?
I think that maybe one or more of us should reach out to the county drain commissioner and see if she will take an interest in this, be a little more aggressive than the previous commissioner, but that's just me.
Okay, then I will take it upon myself in which to do so. I may want to touch base with both of you in terms of the letter being said, but so I can speak intelligently on it, but let's move ahead with it. And just a reminder for people on the call that just as we have EPA involvement until the implementation plan is in place, that it's still business as usual.
Yep.
So this is still ongoing.
Indeed.
That's very true. But the other thing that's important for everybody to know that, as they pointed out during the roundtable meeting earlier, EPA still believes in polluter pay, where Michigan got rid of it in '95. And we're trying to get back to it in Michigan, but EPA will, for this site, still believes, polluter pay is
It's the law.
If the company doesn't agree to it, and then the EPA will enforce and say, this is what you will do, and you will do it, or if you don't do it, they will hire it done and you will recover the money. So
yeah,
it's all good.
That's important. That itself is uplifting versus the other alternative, which hasn't worked.
Okay. Any other issues from executive board members? Seeing none, I'm going to turn it over to the chair for his update.
So I'll just run through this really quickly here. Get back to the beginning. This is basically what I had for the last month. These are the things that EPA is working on from their presentation. Here's the process as it's laid out in a couple different formats. We're here at the final listing step. There's a lot to do. That we're talking about the community interviews. It's basically this blue rectangle. Here's what's coming next. And there's a lot of things after that. Some of these things are longer than others, and it looks kind of convoluted, but some of these things may go quickly. Here's a different version of that. So here we're talking about this blue square here. This is what's coming next. So I just created these from the EPA documents just so people have some references. So that's basically it. One of the things that I have been talking about is uploading information that the CARD and SRSW have that EPA does not have yet. And that will be continuing as we have discussions. I have some other time I'll go through the kinds of data kinds of items that we're talking about. For instance, we have some data that I'm sure the EPA doesn't have, and we have some history documents and some things that were not part of the EGLE or DEQ information stream that we have that would be useful, I think, to the EPA decision makers. So I'm going to be going over the ton of that material with not only the people on the screen, but with the different EPA, authorities. And I guess with that, this one other thing I want to mention here is that the northern and eastern portion of the plume is basically hanging by a thread. Now, this isn't immediate, but this is something for people to keep in mind that all of the remediation that's going on to the north in Evergreen and to the east at Maple Road are the purging is the purge water is being routed back through near surface pipelines and then down through a deeper pipeline back to the core. And the portion of the pipeline that's to the north here has already had a failure when it was running alongside in this 17-inch borehole. There was a transmission pipeline, a 4-inch pipeline to funnel everything from Evergreen back to the core where they could treat it and not have to treat it down on detect like they were doing at Evergreen. The problem was they had a horizontal purge wells in that same borehole and a couple 200-foot long screens of horizontal wells, and apparently that might have taken out some sand that was supporting the pipe, and the transmission pipeline started to leak. So they shut down the transmission pipeline and they relined it with a kind of a fiber type material that ends up being, more than a half mile long. And so, so this is what's there now. The original transmission pipeline was terminated. They put a sleeve in, a 4-inch sleeve, so they could continue sending the untreated purge water back to the core. This is what it looked like when they were putting the sleeve in at the midpoint of that transmission pipeline. And so that all happened in 2005. And this came from some of the documents they have. So that new liner is expected to last 50 years, but we're already 20 years into that. So, we get some time to maybe get a lot of the dioxin cleaned up, but there is no backup plan right now. If there was no backup plan for the original transmission pipeline, when it broke, they still had to use it, even though it was leaking. So it was leaking high concentrations of dioxide into a 100-foot deep aquifer that was already contaminated. But now, if this new line pipeline starts to leak, what's the backup? There is no backup. So I just wanted people to be aware of that. And that's why I say the cleanup of bringing that untreated purge water back to the core is hanging by a thread, and that thread is the pipeline. There is no second pipeline. And, that's really what I want to say about that. This is kind of what we've been talking about today is, the sort of getting the community involvement, and then eventually there's going to be a Superfund community advisory group, and I'm thinking CARD and SRSW will morph into that. And that's basically what I had to say. So I'm going to turn it over and ask first of all, any questions? Anybody have any comments about my part of the presentation here? If not, I have a slide here someplace from our U of M student, Manish Gopal. Am I saying that right, Manish?
Yep.
Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about your project here? It's pretty interesting, to be able to project where dioxin might be going, even though we don't have all the monitoring wells that we normally have.
Yeah, of course. So first I want to say thanks for having me, Roger, and thank you all for your time here. I want to present my work today, methodology, and then learn from all of you guys on how it can be used as a decision support tool. So that's what I was really hoping to do as well. But I made a little presentation for you guys. So Roger, am I able to share my screen here?
I'll make you a co-host. Or at least be able to let you present. Let's see, Manish. Well, because I had to restart, apparently I can't. Why is it not letting me? Jack, you can make him a co-host. Somehow I lost my co-host capability. Yeah, try it over here.
I'm looking.
I think I just did it on the other computer.
Okay.
There. You should be able to share, but I have to unshare first. All right.
Okay.
So now you should be able to share.
Okay. Is this working all right?
It looks like, yeah. Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is just like a short presentation I made on what my work is. Super psyched to be here. Thank you all for your time. And yeah, I'll get into it a bit. Let's see here.
Is everything working?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, as Roger said, I'll introduce myself a little bit. I currently attend the University of Michigan, and I'm a master's student in environmental engineering with the focus on environmental data systems. I completed 2 degrees in my time there in environmental engineering and computer science. So that's kind of where this project is coming from. And of course, studying in Ann Arbor, hearing about the Gelman plume in my environmental engineering classes, I kind of wanted to start this project. So I'll provide a little background. I'm not sure how new this is to everyone, but Gelman Sciences discharged 1,4-dioxane, creating a plume that is 4 miles long and 1 mile wide. This is the kind of background for the project, something that I learned about in my schooling there, and I definitely wanted to kind of provide that background as well. And then the biggest thing, of course, is thanks to the EPA folks for being here. And on March 12th, it was made on the NPL site. So I would love to learn a bit more about what that means as well. But yeah, so what exactly is my project and what am I doing? That northern jutting part out right there in the left red circle, that is Michigan Eagle monitoring wells that have low detection. So while dioxin is above 0, it's below the 0.3 ppb that we look for. So it's not really a high concentration enough to be shaded purple, a pretty shade of purple on that map there, but it is detected. And what I wanted to do is understand that this new jutting is very recent. It's from 2021, and that it is kind of threatening Barton Pond, which is the intake for the Ann Arbor drinking water treatment plant. And from my environmental engineering degree, from people who are doing the pilot work at the plant, advanced oxidation is currently being tested there. So something I want to mention, and this will be more relevant later, the 1,4-dioxane isn't sorbing to soil. So it's moving right along with that groundwater. And of course, there's folks from the EPA here today. And it was mentioned earlier too, but the toxicology, there has not been a lot of research done on it yet, or more is to be done. But it is a possible carcinogen, and also there's more research to be done on its impacts. So my specific project, it is called a PIN, a physics-informed neural network. We'll get into that in the next couple minutes here. But what this really means is there's monitoring wells set up by the Eagle right now that this data is available online for anybody, including me. And I wanted to know how to predict the movement of the dioxane when there isn't a monitoring well right above that groundwater. So is there a way to extrapolate that data without just doing standard interpolation? So one of the bullet points there is saying standard interpolation is based on data, but it's not really any real world physics. So the purpose of my project was predicting how the dioxane moves in unmonitored areas and forecasting the arrival at Barton Pond, which is Ann Arbor drinking water treatment's intake for the 85% of the drinking water comes from Barton Pond. So going a bit more into like how I did this, my methodology, this is the same map as before, but without the pretty purple ISO concentration lines for the dioxane. These are all of the 888 or and even more monitoring wells that are publicly accessible data-wise. You can see it goes all the way up to Huron River and therefore Barton Pond. And this data is from, as someone mentioned earlier, like 40 years or even more from like 1970. The screen depth here is something I wanted to point out because my model accounts for the depth. So that means that my model can predict the concentration of dioxin at different depths for the drinking water treatment plant. So I'll not get into like too much of the technical detail here as well, but neural network is a very fancy machine learning thing that is currently a buzzword, but I really want to try to figure out if that type of technology can be used for this site, this Superfund site, as of course with the NPL listing, there's going to be a lot of like inquiry on how to proceed, planning as we talked about earlier on this call. And I wanted to use neural networks to as an application for predicting dioxin concentration. So you can see at the top there, neural networks are fantastic at when there is data. So you can kind of see in that first photograph, it's doing awesome when there's like data, and then the second there isn't any, it goes crazy. It just thinks, it just makes these predictions, it thinks it's right, and of course it's not. And this is like a standard example with like a ball falling to the ground. There's a physics equation in the background, but this model is not even using that. It just relies on data. So when it doesn't have it, it goes crazy. But if you look at the bottom, a physics-informed neural network or a PIN, what happens is that even without having that orange data circles, it's able to still extrapolate in areas where it doesn't have data. So this type of technology is currently being pioneered in the computer science field, but I really wanted to bring it to try to predicting dioxin concentration because there's, of course, physics equations in how groundwater moves, how these the glacial aquifers are moving under the ground. So how this is working is I drew a line from the Gelman source to Barton Pond. And that is roughly, conservatively, how the groundwater flows because of the elevation towards Huron River. So that is a rough approximation of how the groundwater moves. But the output is a predicted 1,4-dioxane concentration. So this, I believe, would be a deliverable that would be of interest to you all at whether it's EPA, Eagle, or Ann Arbor drinking water treatment plant. I think it would be important to know like what the 1,4-dioxane concentration will be in like, let's say 2050. I think we were just talking about this, but this plume will outlast a lot of us on the call right now. So I think having that forecast, having that ability, which is currently not available, would be something I'm trying to work on. So the results of this physics-informed neural network. It has a 97% accuracy on when it has data. So that was really great to see because it's my model and it's my baby. And I'm trying to see if it'll really work given these monitoring wells. And there's something important to know, which is that my model currently is very simplistic. It's a line from the Gelman source to Barton Pond because that's what I'm concerned with currently. But to account for like whether when dioxin goes outside of this line, I added a leakage term. So this is actually something that Dr. Larry Lemke from Central Michigan University, who models this plume, and his work is super foundational to all of this. He also independently discovered a 2,000 kilogram leakage term as well. So why I'm saying all of this is because this model is a computer science tool, but it is actually following environmental engineering physics. And that is going to be extremely important for when we try to forecast how this dioxin moves towards the river. So kind of going along with that, I'm happy to report that this model is learning independently things that we have already figured out among published research. So if you look at the table there, whether it's the parameters of the Gelman plume, so 4 miles long, 1 mile wide, but it has a groundwater velocity, dispersivity, all of these environmental engineering physics terms. This model learns it itself, and I compared it to what's published in actual research right now. And I'm happy to say that it is consistent. So this graph right here, it might be a little hard to see, but this is the line from the Gelman source, this red star here, all the way to this blue diamond at Barton Pond. And these are where the monitoring wells are currently, that are the ones publicly available online. And you can see that, of course, they're all bunched at the middle. So you can also see that there's a 9,000-foot data gap. So that is going to be where my physics-informed neural network, my PIN, is really going to get challenged because, of course, groundwater is not a very predictable thing at all. And it's important to see how that's going to be the area where we need to know where the front of the plume is going to be in, let's say, 20 or 30 years. So kind of reading these bullet points off here, some of the wells in the middle got predicted extremely well, which I'm very happy to report, while some of them didn't. And we'll get into, we'll discuss a little bit on why. Some wells are easy to predict and some aren't, but it's good to know that a lot of the wells are able to be predicted well. So here is a easier to read graph on what exactly is going on. And I want to draw your attention to monitoring well 92, which is basically the most best piece of evidence I have right now for this model working. So I'll backtrack a second. What does this model working mean? It means that this model is trained on all of this well data, but to see if this model will even really work, we take out a well, and then we train it on all of the other ones. So when I say that monitoring well 92 got predicted really well, that means that this model did not have access to its data at all from 1960, and it repredicted from 1960 to 2024 the data, and it's doing extremely well. So this is a optimistic view, in my opinion, on that monitoring well 92 is one of the edge wells. It's like the front of the plume. So if we can kind of narrow in this model, kind of get it working a bit better, because of course, to the left of it is monitoring well 110, which of course, it did not do that well. And you can see that huge difference in wells that are right next to each other. So what is going on? Is this model just hallucinating, as we mentioned earlier? Is it doing this, that? Well, I looked into it a bit more. Monitoring well 92 had data that spanned 14 ppb to 130 ppb over the years. So I'm from 1960 roughly to 2024 from the Eagle data. And what that means is that my model had a lot of data to work off of over time. But versus monitoring well 110, so this third bullet point here, that's actually right at the depth, 130 feet depth, where it's in two of the Gelman aquifer zones. So Gelman, of course, made these aquifer zones, Unit C, Unit E, at different depths to model groundwater dioxane. And this well is in both. So I'm optimistic in that this type of model can be used to predict and conservatively predict the dioxin concentration in years, given that there's a lot of data. So optimistically, the model's errors are a data problem and not a full model problem itself. But of course, there will always be some error and confidence intervals associated with stuff. So what do I want to do with this work? Where did this come from? Where did I come from with all of this work? I met with Roger a few months ago to work on this project and discuss how this could be used. And we kind of scoped this to the Barton Pond drinking water intake because that kind of seems like the first kind of place to start. And we both agreed and we both talked about how this timing is really important with the national priorities list, Superfund status, of course, which is what this call is about. Which got me thinking on if there's any hydrogeologists working on this, if there's any way that this could be used as a decision support tool, if there's any sort of use for this type of work, I would love to know from all of you. This PIN model is open source and it's actually on a website right now. So anybody can visit it and just see the predictions. And then, yeah, on the bottom there, I would love to kind of work with Eagle. I've chatted with Aaron, who's on this call right now, and we're supposed to meet next week for how this could work with the drinking water treatment plant. And yeah, what next steps are there? It's pretty much gathering more data for these predictions. So as we kind of explained earlier, when a well doesn't have the right data or when it's at the edge of two aquifer zones, that kind of really messes up the prediction. So it would be really important to get the 2025 Eagle data, which is not out. And then I think something Aaron and Becky and I from the Ann Arbor Drinking Water Treatment Plant discussed would be possibly using more monitoring well data that the Ann Arbor Drinking Water Treatment Plant has, or whether more get dug. It's really important to have this access. And yeah, the rest of the bullet points are more technical kind of tweaks that I need to do to make these predictions even better. I would love to get the error down. I would love to make this more of a confident interval. So here are some acknowledgements for the project. Roger, thank you for your help a couple of months ago. Really appreciated that. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for your time here, guys. I really appreciate it. And I would love to take any questions, whether it's technical or use based on how this could work. So thank you all for your time.
So any questions?
Yeah, it's a good presentation. I'm going to reshare my screen because when you were talking about 92 and 110, I said, well, let's show people where those are. Where's my share screen here? Here we go. So here's those MW110, right? That's one of them.
Yeah.
And then the other one was MW92. Now, Gelman shows those as being in two different aquifers.
Mm-hmm.
And the thinking was that this really is now the E aquifer. It's a deeper aquifer. And some of the Gelman maps use the Eagle maps, but the Gelman maps over the years show a curve around here so that some of this deeper stuff might be moving, pushing north. And that might be why MW110 doesn't meet your models because there's a confluence of the aquifers going on there.
Totally agreed. And also, yeah, with the glacial, I guess what is called heterogeneity in the ground.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's all mixed up down there. And then, of course, what you pointed out was the offshoot to the north, and these are homeowner wells. So I think what would be really useful is to be able to project just for these. Well, we don't know exactly where this is coming from, but it seems to be coming from the Evergreen area because there's a pathway. And it's 100 to 200 feet below ground there. These are the deeper ones. And Gelman also showed that there's a communication between the D2 and the E in this area, most notably 465 DuPont, which is a former homeowner well, that I think Gelman even helped put in when their shallower well got shut down. And they used that for monitoring for years. And when it got to be really high, DEQ started putting in monitoring wells, or Gelman did, at DEQ's insistence, monitoring wells around that homeowner well. But then the homeowner well is no longer monitored. So this, I think that's the last reading we have is around 2021, something like that. 1,000 parts per billion. So a little bit of that 1,000 parts per billion could be leaking its way up here. If we're going to do a particular subset of the model, that might be a good place to work from because we have a lot of good data in this area. Not so much up here, just recent years. But the fact that it seems to follow these surface tributaries where there's probably a ancestral stream bed underneath those. That's the current thinking on that. But I'm really interested in seeing where your modeling leads and good work.
Thank you, Roger. Really appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I had a comment or question. So maybe 2 or 3 years ago, my cousin came to visit from Maine, and he's a geologist, and he studies water contamination in the Maine, New Hampshire area. And he looked at our maps here and the topographies and such. And one of the comments he made, which I had not known about, but he says typically you can follow the flow of some of these plumes by looking at the topography. And he says you look and you see where it drops down into a depression and comes up. He says it tends to follow in that lower depressed area. And I thought that was very interesting. Maybe that'd be valuable to follow that lead. He says that in his work, and he works with small communities trying to improve their water quality and clean up sites that are contaminated or get them out of the bad water. Um, but he says, yeah, they've had some pretty good success and trying to, get people good clean water where they didn't have it before. So it's interesting just to know that some of that technology is available. And he's had some success with it. And he's with a U.S. Organization, so they're all over the country. And he runs one of them in the East Coast there. So thanks for presenting. That was interesting, and thanks for your work.
Yep. Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you for detailing what your cousin does. That seems very interesting as well.
Alrighty. I think that that concludes that. Are there any other items that we need to cover that aren't on the agenda?
Yeah, Jack, I would want to make a comment. The card group did, and the Allen's Creek Watershed group did have a table at the Earth Day Fair. Roger and I went out and set it up, and I put a poster up with a lot of information and put a sign up, Superfund this, March 12th, large letters. And a lot of people came by and were very excited. And I was really impressed with that they had a lot of questions, very excited about the fact that we're getting, forward, we're moving forward. And it was good to see, and I'm glad that people were, you know, picking that up and spreading it amongst the community, hopefully. That, we're on a new form and we're moving forward, and hopefully we'll make some real progress in the near future. So it was good to get the response from the public, and it was great to be at the Earth Day Fair. So thanks so much.
Alrighty, thank you. So our core group will be meeting online with the EPA on May 14th, probably around 3:30. That'll be nailed down between now and then. Our next meeting is July 7th, 10 a.m. That's a quarterly meeting. And then in June, Kathy Griswold is going to host a celebration to congratulate Debbie Dingell for all of the work that she's done to facilitate bringing the EPA in. And so there will be announcements going out on that matter as well. Go ahead, James.
Well, just in a celebratory mood, once again, thank you, Diane, Colleen, and Melissa, and everybody from the EPA for coming aboard. The question here now is cleanup rather than containment. And we're so happy that we're seeing positive change at last. We're very grateful to you being here, and we look forward to working with you in the days to come. So thank you very much.
All right.
One thing, Manish, can you send me the copy of your slideshow so I can put it in the archives?
Yeah, of course.
And then we need to talk some more about how we can help your next steps and get you involved more in the actual cleanup, decisions and things. Aaron, looks like you were involved with Manish also. So do you have anything to add to that?
Just that we have a meeting scheduled next week to talk more about it with some folks from the drinking water plant. So I know we've worked in the past with Dr. Lemke on some of his models. So yeah, looking forward to learning more about the next iteration of models on
Yeah,
this.
and when Larry Lemke was still a student at U of M, working on his doctorate, I provided him with the first data sets for his research, and have been in touch with him periodically since. I don't think I have all of the I think there's some vertical profiling data that he aggregated that I don't have maybe the latest version of that, but it's good if we can have all of the researchers work from the same data sets. And as Manish pointed out, we don't have the 2025 data yet from Eagle. And even the 2024 data that you see in some of my Google Earth mashups does not include all of the Eagle database does not include all of the township sampling that was done over the last 4 or 5 years. There's some issue about updating that, but supposedly that's going to be done in the near future. So hopefully we'll have everybody in one database, and we will have, you don't want to start using different databases and then get different results. We want to have everybody use the full database. That's my admonition on that. Thanks.
So Manoush, Melissa asks you in the meeting chat if you have a planned date for publishing.
Yeah, of course. Actually, I just saw that question.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you, Jack. Currently I'm working with Professor Drew Gronwald at University of Michigan. He's a part of the SEAS school there that used to be the School of Natural Resources or Forestry. We're currently developing the paper itself, so there isn't like a full timeline on publishing, but just wanted to throw that out there as well. That's still in the pipeline, still in the works as well.
I want to make sure I told you in our past meetings, and I'll mention it again here to everybody. You said School of Natural Resources and Forestry, which came out of the first forestry department in the country at a university. And that's all related to Arthur Hill. Arthur Hill, wasn't for Arthur Hill, we wouldn't have known about this dioxin, even today. Because he's the one that gave the land for Saginaw Forest back in the early 1900s. It became a university property. If that wasn't university property, those would all be around Third Sister Lake, would be all $1 million homes. Dan Bicknell would not have been there in 1984 to sample for dioxin running off from the Gelman Sciences site next door. So School of Natural Resources, Forestry. Thank goodness for Arthur Hill. And thank goodness for all the following students, who are like you, who are, taking this on and trying to fix this problem. Think how much worse the problem would be if that hadn't have happened, if the discovery had not have happened, and people following through on it. So kudos again.
Thank you very much, Roger.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to conclude the meeting, unless there's some uproar here that insists that we drag on for a couple more minutes. It's good to see everybody.
Got to go root the Pistons on now.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Thank you, and welcome EPA. Thank you again.
Yes, welcome EPA.
Yeah, thanks, Diane.
Thanks, Jack.
Melissa,
Thanks, Roger.
Colleen.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Hey,
Thank you.
Great meeting, Roger, despite the sound. So good deal.
Thanks. I don't like these technical problems. Like my laptop is really messed up here. Stop the share. Kathy Boris.